Let's go JavaScripting! Hi everybody and welcome to another exciting edition of Boring JavaScript. I'm your host, the Virtual White, aka Mike Smith, and today we're taking a look at the at method on arrays. Now, if you've never heard of the at method on arrays, that's not surprising. It's a very recent addition to the JavaScript canon of array methods. Now, it's also a convenience method, which basically means it doesn't really solve a problem. It just gives you a more convenient way to do something a little bit differently. You want to see how it works? Let's get started. Okay, so let's take a look at the at method by first showing you what it does in relationship to the code that it replaces, or again, not really replaces, but does the same thing as, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Basically, the at method will allow you to grab an element within an array based upon the index number. And you can do the same thing with the square brackets. I mean, everybody's familiar with the square brackets. You know, I've got my array here, and by doing the square bracket 0 here, I'm saying get the 0th element of the array, which happens to be the very first element. If I wanted to get the last element of the array, it'll be animals within square brackets, animals dot length minus 1. And of course, we do that because the length of my array in this particular case happens to be 9, but since all JavaScript arrays start at index number 0, the very last index happens to be 8. So of course, I'm always going to have to subtract 1 if I want to get to the very last element. Consequently, if I want to get the third from last element, I'm going to have to subtract 3. So this is the method that we've been using since the very beginning of time to access elements within an array. And of course, this works out perfect. I should be able to get type cat with the first one. The last one is type lizard, and the final one, third from the bottom, is type dolphin. So that's what I should get if I go over to Node. And so let's type in Node.at. And sure enough, here we are, cat, lizard, and dolphin. So let's bring up the at code and show you what it does. And just for right now, I'm going to keep both code sets on the screen. Of course, if I run it right now, it's going to blow up at me because I can't redeclare a constant, which is what I'm trying to do right here. But just for showing you what's going on here, I'm going to keep both codes on the screen here. So here is the at method. There's nothing to it. It's the word at, A-T, on there. But the idea here is that the argument that is passed to the at method is the index number of the element we want to retrieve. So if we want to get the 0 element in line with using the square brackets, we put square bracket 0. Same thing with the at. If we want the first element, we put the 0 in there. If we want the 10th element, we put a 10 in there. If we want the 100th element, we put 100 in there. Where at really kind of works well is being able to specify the end of the array conveniently. So for example, if I wanted to get the end of the array, I always got to take the array length, the length of the array, and subtract 1 from it. Or if I wanted to get the third element, subtract 3. If I wanted to get the 10th element from the end, subtract 10. Well, what you do with at is that you pass a negative number. And this works the same way with a number of other JavaScript methods. SUB, which you shouldn't use anymore, does that. If you put a start as a negative number, it would start from the very end of the string. And this works basically the same way, is that if I put a negative number as the argument to at, it's going to assume we're going to want to start from the very end. So negative 1 will always represent the very last element of the array. If I wanted to get 3 elements from the end, we do negative 3. If I wanted to get 10 elements from the end, we do negative 10. If I wanted 100 elements from the end, we do a negative 100. So as you can tell, this is a little bit more concise than using the square brackets, especially since you don't have to make any kind of calculations here. You just pass a single number. So this makes it a little bit easier to understand for other coders to come in here, a little bit easier to maintain. So you want to see how it works? Sure, of course. Let's zero out that code so it won't bomb on me when I try to run it. Let's go over to Node, and I should get the exact same thing here. So I'll just go Node.at and see what happens. Yes, I got the exact same thing. My first one is cat, my last one is lizard, and my third from the last is dolphin. So that's what the at method allows you to do. It gives you a more convenient way to be able to specify elements within the array without having to use the square brackets. Now, should you use at instead of the square brackets? Oh, it depends upon what you like. Quite honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using square brackets. In fact, you can use them from here to eternity and it's going to work out great. The only thing I would say is just two things, actually. First thing I would say is that it is a little bit easier to look at, understand, and maintain by using the at method. But the second thing you're really going to have to worry about is, for right now, I would strongly suggest do not use it, which of course flies completely opposite of what I just said. So why not? Well, the fact of the matter is that this is a very, very recent addition to the JavaScript canon of methods that get applied to arrays. As I record this, we just came out with Chrome version 100. Ta-da! It was introduced in Chrome version 92. That's how recent it was. In fact, when I first got this code together here, my node bombed out on me and saying, hey, at is not part of an array. And the reason why is that was at version 16.2. And it was not introduced in Node until 16.4. So I had to upgrade my Node to be able to use the at method. So that's the only problem I see with using the at method at this point in time, is that if you have this in production, there's going to be a lot of browsers that are going to yell at you that this is an invalid code, it won't work. So I'd give it a little bit of time before I would actually use it in a production, real live, everybody gets to use it environment, because you could have a problem with it. But again, it's very easy to use, very simple to look at, and quite frankly, in my opinion, it's very easy to maintain. So once you feel comfortable with it, I would strongly suggest using the at method. And that's all there is to using the at method on arrays. I hope you enjoyed our video. Hope I didn't bore you to death. Please make sure you click on the like button below and click on subscribe to our channel. Plus, if you want to see all of the Boring JavaScript videos, go to www.boringjavascript.com, or if you want to see everything that we do, go to www.thevirtualoid.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later.